A look at our results map here. We just had some sizable movement in the overall makeup of the race at this point. At 8:40 p.m., Donald Trump had a 55% to 44% lead in the state. Now, only about 9 minutes later, we had another roughly 400 or so thousand votes reported. That lead has shrunk dramatically. Now it is a 5-point race here in Georgia with Donald Trump still in the lead, 52% to 47%. But as you've heard all night long, it's a margins game. That margin has gotten closer. And probably, in fact, no surprise, we just saw some more results reported in our core metro Atlanta counties. DeKalb County now on the board, and in a big way. DeKalb County reporting 255,000 votes. That's 60% of their estimated total. That is Fred Hicks. Maybe he coined this term. If not, whoever did was sharp with it. Calls it the faithful 5 counties in metro Atlanta. Deanna, when you see these metro results as a Republican, what do you make of it?
It's to be expected, right?
This is what it looks like.
This is what it should be. Again, a huge minority population in DeKalb County. Most of the cities and the county commission are Democrat majorities. So those items, as you call it, the Fab Five, they're to be expected. Small toss-ups could be in Cobb, where we can get a little bit more than usual, where it wouldn't be so large, like 82%. But yeah, those are to be expected for sure.
And just important to remind viewers at home, what you are looking at right now, this is an overall view. It's 8:51. We are going to be getting results all night until this race is called. If you look at the top right corner of your screen, you will see that it is a 62% estimated total vote, 14% reporting. That means that we're just continuing to get numbers in. You see that total vote under the 2 candidates there. We have cracked 3.3 million folks. So we haven't gotten up to that 4 million reported of early and absentee ballots, as well as the estimated 1.1 million or so that is expected today. So we still have a ways to go here, but we are slowly filling in the blank spaces, and there are still quite a few blank spaces to be filled in. As soon as numbers are sent to a certain county, that is when it'll pick up that red or blue color. It will go red or blue depending on who is in the lead there. So that's just a little explanation of the map that we are seeing here. And if you did not know, Zach Merchant is behind the wheels of this map. So if there's any mistakes, don't blame me.
Yeah, everybody buckle your seatbelts because I am at the driver's seat. Everybody beware. This is better though. I used to do this with a touch screen. Now I get a trackpad, which is at least a little more accurate. While I am driving, let's maybe take a tour south down I-75 for a moment and talk about central Georgia, because this is a region that we saw, in particular, former President Trump campaigning heavily in some of his earlier campaigns, but we also saw him in Macon over the weekend.
Yes.
We also saw earlier this year Vice Presidential Democratic nominee Governor Tim Walz in Macon. We saw, I believe, Jill Biden, the First Lady, in central Georgia as well.
And Vice President Harris and Walz, that was their first, oh no, that wasn't Macon, that was Savannah.
In Savannah.
Very, very first stop.
But maybe worth taking a little tour around the state while we have this
southern
moment.
Georgia.
Let us start our tour of our beautiful state we call home in Bibb County, where the city of Macon is located. About 150, 180,000 folks, give or take, who live in the county in total. 56% of the estimated total vote is in. Vice President Harris is out to a pretty large double-digit lead here. Is Bibb County the blue dot in a sea of red in central Georgia? What do you make of all this, Kyle?
I think in order for Democrats to win in Georgia, they have to have a nuanced view of Georgia, especially national Democrats. And clearly, this election cycle, the Harris-Walz campaign understood a lot of the nuances of Georgia. You can't just be in the metro Atlanta area. Obviously, it's incredibly important, but you want to be in places like Columbus, you want to be in Macon, you want to be in Augusta, you want to be in Savannah. And they have shown that they are willing, that Democrats have shown at a national level, that they're willing to invest in these other regions of Georgia that in previous election cycles that have kind of flown under the radar.
Yeah. Well, Republicans have attacked those same areas because we're hoping to chip away at that Democrat vote, especially either keep them at home or maybe even bring them over and vote for President Trump. Even if they do, Democrats on the down ballot races, we want them to select him at the top of the ticket.
And as we're looking at these counties, Zach, it looks like, the margins are not too close. We know that there's about 78% reporting. That could change. But when we were looking at the polling before, and of course this was kind of like statewide polling, you were within the margin of error. You were 2% ahead or 1% ahead. Some polls, of course, had maybe one person 5 or 6 points ahead. But the majority of the polls were within the margin of error. As we're looking at some of these early numbers coming in, whichever county you have there, Baldwin County, 86% in.
Houston County actually is also an interesting one to talk about. And then maybe we should talk about the overall margin of error. But Houston County has the city of Warner Robins in it, and then a very rural chunk of the county outside of it, maybe one of Georgia's kind of marquee, how is it going to turn out state, or counties rather. Donald Trump right now with about 78% of the results in Houston County in. He is outperforming by about a percentage point where he was when everything was said and done in 2020. And as Faith pointed out, this is a 12% gap in Houston County 2020. Right now, we're seeing a 13% gap in Houston County.
With 78% reported.
Which is legit. that's a lot of results in. But,
and while we're looking at these results, Zach, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
we
please.
do have one additional race called. Hank Johnson, the incumbent in the 4th District. He will keep his seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. So that is another call that we can make.
And when we're talking about, I'm always so wary of polling, especially as we get close to Election Day, because when you're going to have a close race, that margin of error that's maybe 3-4-ish%, that can be the ball game. You talk about some of these individual counties, and there's a big gap between these candidates, but when you zoom out to the full statewide picture, which is what we're looking at right now, this is the big old state of Georgia, pretty close and getting closer. 52% for former President Donald Trump, 47% for Vice President Kamala Harris, with 3.4 million votes tallied so far. Deanna, is this going to be a story where the margin gets tighter as the night goes on? And it's okay to say you don't know, because I just asked you to predict the future.
Yeah, you did. I could assume that it will get tighter. As you know, last time, Joe Biden won by 11,000 and some change votes, right?
There it was, right here. As close as you can get, right? In 2020. This is 2020 results you're seeing.
Very, very small amount of individuals. So my idea, it could be the same. Hopefully flip-flop, though.
Kyle, what do you make of it? Do you see this margin? Let's go back to the 2020 results. Do you see the margin narrowing as we start to get more results in, or do you think that former President Trump holds a lead as we go later into the night?
I think that margin is going to continue to tighten up. Gwinnett, we just started getting votes in from Gwinnett and DeKalb counties, which are not only just huge population centers, when we talk about the metro Atlanta area, but, that's where Democrats perform well. And so if Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, can continue to hold the margins that President Biden won in 2020 or improve upon them, I think not only will we see those margins continue to shrink, but we might even see Vice President Harris win the state of Georgia with an even bigger lead than in 2020. Now, that's a big if, obviously.
And even she said that. She said that she is the underdog in this fight at several of her rallies here in Georgia. One county that I'm sure she would want to win is Gwinnett, and that is where we are going to head next. We will check in with you guys in just a few minutes, but right now we want to head out.